it's got more moisture than the
Yeah,
bed.
and it takes surface.
I bought very my bed coming up, she's still for trees, it's starting to get trees slow.
Get too many chairs here, or what's up?
Terry Woodwick and I are going. Terry Woodwick and I are going.
Okay. Terry mentioned
Yeah, sorry. All the surrounding administrators are going too.
My sister can't seem to get that. Something comes in. Well, it's 4 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting in order. Everybody had a chance to get 2 sets of minutes here. It's all from the 19th. Everybody had a chance to look at them. Approve, is there a second? Second by Mr. Undershoots. Any questions or corrections? Heard, all in favor, signify by aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Public comment. Anybody with the wish to speak in public comment?
I think she spoke first.
Whatever, whomever, take it
Go ahead.
away.
I would. I'm Ellen Anderson, and I'm here tonight.
Would you come up a little closer, ma'am, so everybody can hear you, please?
Absolutely. I'm Ellen Anderson, and I'm here tonight to just support and encourage this body to support putting county levy into the drug court coordinator position, to have that position paid at the rate that the wage study came out as encouraging. And I can say that in looking at the drug court program and the audit that was recently done, where there are a number of things that need to be fixed, there's been a lot of turnover in that position. And I think part of starting to stabilize and to really move forward and have that be a successful program would start with keeping somebody in that position and having that position be stable. I can also tell you that I did talk to the people at the state level, as well as all the district attorneys and deputy district attorneys, and asked them to give me some information about what they pay their coordinators on treatment courts, and I've gotten a lot of good feedback, and I'm still getting it. And so far, no matter what, and of course, people have different job responsibilities, I understand that, and different degrees and qualifications coming into a position, but even broken down by counties, and even in the smallest counties, so far what's come back is the lowest paid person whose qualifications only need to be a 2-year associate degree. That wage rate still came back higher as what the recommendation for the wage study here came back for that position. And so again, I would just encourage you to do that so that we can have some retention and stability and consistency in that position.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
I'm just gonna bring up the EMT pay salary again. They're county employees, they should be treated equal with anybody else. We hired Detman Carlton to come up with a proposal. It's not written in stone, it's not solid, it's flexible, because we already have, 4 appeals? So we know it's movable. I just think that, and length of service should both count for them like it does for everybody else. That's all I'll say for this one.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak in public comment? Anybody else for public comment? Public comment is closed. No, Rich?
No, he's not able to make it.
Okay. Reclassification of highway worker 1 to highway worker 2.
Good afternoon. Yeah, so at the highway department, the majority of our field crew is a highway worker, 1 or 2. 1 is basically entry level, and then 2 is the exact same qualifications. I don't know if you all have a copy, but 2 is basically the exact same qualifications except for 3 years of experience as highway worker 1 and a CDL. The CDL is not included as in the highway worker 1. That allows us the flexibility to hire someone without a CDL and train them. So after 3 years, I think it's the intent that a person advances from highway worker 1 to highway worker 2, but we cannot find meeting minutes in either committee, highway work personnel, to justify or clarify that. So that's what I'm here for today, is looking for approval to basically advance someone from highway worker 1 to highway worker 2, or have them eligible for reclassification after 3 years.
I remember when that happened because I was on there, but we did okay that.
Yeah, I thought it was the intent, and actually, we've already, done that with at least 1 employee.
It's my own personal opinion, 3 years is even too long, really. If you don't pick it up in a year or 2, you're not gonna get it.
And I'm not saying, it has to be mandatory, but at least the employee could be eligible, at the department head or.
The option,
Exactly. And then, this committee met first, that's why I'm here first, because it came up after our highway committee meeting, so, if the motion requires it based on the approval of the highway committee, bring it up at the highway committee.
But you're right, it passed once before already.
We thought
Find
it
it
did,
somewhere.
yeah.
would that have been,
Actually, I think at the time it was proposed for 4 years, and I got it down to 3, which is too much.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably ask you the wrong person here, but would that have been a personnel decision, or would that have been strictly in the highway committee?
Was there
It was both. Okay.
You have a copy?
So when Tim and I talked, I said, well, you can always come here if you want to advance this, and I think it approves from personnel pending on highway's decision as well. So that's what we spoke about, so, and that's been done in the past.
Would it be highway's decision first?
Well, it would be pending highway's decision is what we're doing, so he's just fast tracking it so that he's got your decision, ahead of the highway, but it's depending on highway's decision, yes.
So you're asking for one specific person, not,
Well, it's up to the committee. It'd be better if it was just blanketed.
Well, yeah,
To
they're
anyone
gonna
that meets
come in
the
as a
3-year
group.
requirement is eligible
I
for
think on this
reclassification.
committee, it should be blanketed, and then it should be up to highway and the supervisor's decisions taken to highway on an individual basis as that comes along.
so we need to make a policy or something. It sounds like there was one at one time, but we lost, we need that in writing, right? So like, the policy saying this.
It's been done in the past.
It has been done in the past. I think this kind of changed when the jobs got, new descriptions.
I think,
That
Jonathan,
could be.
as long as it was in the minutes of the personnel, then it would be, we would be putting it in the hands of the highway committee and any future person or individual if they wanted to vote
After 3 years.
after 3 years, yeah.
So it's documented somewhere.
Right. Am I correct with it, Connie?
Yeah, it's gonna be documented, it's highway's decision, but.
I'm not asking, it doesn't have to be documented, I'm asking, is it documented right now?
No,
The only
no,
difference
and that's
is-
why we're here.
The only difference
It's in the
is
job description.
But it's been done.
Jobs are saying that.
Right, right.
They're gonna-
What it basically comes down to is a probationary period more than anything.
Right, I don't have a problem with that, but let's have it a policy and pass a policy, to have something that's documented, so others were going on remembering your recollection.
So it would be highway's policy.
Yeah, and then this would be, then going forward, that's just a policy.
But if we give our blessing here as an open-ended deal, highway can put it in their policy.
Right,
And then if we're done with it, then.
right.
As long as it's in writing somewhere.
Well, it would be in the minutes in the form of a motion, which
tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I personally think that 3 years is too long, really. We're all doing the same thing.
I'm not gonna say I disagree, but that's not on the agenda. We'd have to change the job description if I'm not mistaken. It's in the job
I
description.
believe you'd
correct?
have to change the
Yeah.
job description.
So that's something we can't do here tonight.
So can I make a motion to approve and send to finance pending a
Send to
policy?
highway.
Or to highway, yes,
Highway.
pending, a policy procedure to go with it.
I think that would be sufficient, yes.
How's
Mr.
that?
Stout seconds. Is there any further discussion or comments?
To approve the reclassification
Of the highway worker, one to highway worker, two
pending.
pending approval of a policy.
Okay.
That sound
Got that worded the way you,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Well, I got a question. There's no other commissioner, no other thing in the courthouse that has a 3-year probationary period, is there?
Not that I know of.
But there's no other positions really either that automatically jump up after their probationary period
He
either.
said to start down lower, that's the problem. They're not hired at the lower rate like everybody else is. At one time, they used to.
I think that the wage study does factor that in. You know, that it is the market rate.
3 years probation, that's quite a long time.
It is, but like I say, that's not something we can address tonight.
Yeah, I know.
Is there any further questions on the motion on the floor? None being heard, all in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Tim. Tourism and economic development, that probably falls under you.
Yeah, me and Jonathan.
Okay.
So, if you'll recall, last year we stopped contracting with Phillips and Barnett. We were paying like $40,000 a year for them to do our marketing. So we created a part-time position for tourism and economic development, and that person is in charge of our social media. They're in charge of making sure our website is current. They reach out to businesses around the area to make sure that their information on our website is correct. They're the contact with the Department of Tourism. And now that Phillips and Barnett is gone, like they gave us full control of everything on January 1st, the tourism committee is recommending that we bump this position from 20 hours a week to 30 hours a week was the official motion. But after consulting with the finance department, we'd like personnel to approve 29 hours a week, so that position isn't benefit eligible.
Is that sufficient in your,
I think so. She said she didn't want the benefit, that she just want more hours. I don't, she didn't, at least angle it as a reason for benefits.
Mhm.
She specifically said she did need the benefits, she wanted the benefits.
You think, Ashley, you've done some of that, that's why we
Mm-hmm.
promoted
Mhm.
you.
Right, and so like I created the marketing plan for Q1. I just need her to execute it for me because I don't
But you
have
could
time.
drive through, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that her and I are taking on next week is putting together the e-blast. It's a newsletter that we send out through all the emails that we have. That's not something she's done before, and this is the first time that we're gonna have to do it now that Pilch is gone. So those are the kind of things that she's gonna be taking on, and I think 9 additional hours will suffice.
It'll be enough then.
Yes.
You said you wrote brochures down in Wisconsin, Devil, as your call.
I would love to do a newspaper up here, yes, but that is, that's in and of itself like a 25-hour-a-week job.
If I remember right.
Yeah.
No, you got a good memory.
I'll make the motion to move her from 20 hours to 29 hours. For that position, from 20 hours to 29 hours.
the motion's made and seconded to adjust the position from 20 hours to 29 hours a week. Is there any further questions, comments? None being heard, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. approval of part-time LTEs to monitor drug testing. This was come up in extension yesterday, and this is the second time it's come up. And it did come in front of the full board, am I correct? Yes. The question at the time, I think, that had come through the full board was, was it completely grant funded? And I think there was some questions brought up that in some ways, yes, it was, but in some ways, it wasn't. So extension kind of passed it on yesterday because we're not positive. We figured it needed to go here. And it's gonna have to go to finance, is what
This is
extension.
supposed to go to finance, right?
Yeah, and here, and here.
No, this one doesn't go to
This one
finance.
doesn't come here.
There, it's a grant position,
Right,
we,
the
there's
second one
no
comes here.
levy
Oh,
money.
okay, I'm sorry.
The other one goes to
I'm sorry.
finance.
I got the two mixed up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, it's the second one. So the basic position would be fulfilled, with my understanding, if there was money left in the grant to pay for the position. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
Is it a full-time thing?
No, it's the LTEs, when it was brought to extension, it was roughly 2 hours a day for one male and one female. So, it was just, for what, UAs, am I correct?
To monitor the UAs.
Yeah.
Are we gonna go past the
This is
random check?
grant funded?
So,
It would come into line if there was enough grant money to pay for it. If there's no grant money, it would not come out of levy fund. Am I correct?
correct. Right now, we aren't planning on hiring them because this is what we wanted to do in the last quarter of last year. And we had extra money to spend, so we wanted to try that. So we didn't get the approval to hire them, and we ended up using the money for a telehealth room. But we had gone through how many committees and how much time, so I'm still just going through. In the event that it happens again and we have money, right now we don't. If we do, it's gonna be the last quarter of the year because we don't know if we have extra money every year until the last quarter. So I wanna get the resolution, have the approval so that we can do it, because it's been months trying to get it approved this time and we weren't able to do
This would be for next
it.
fall then, basically, you're saying.
Right,
This was already approved by personnel. It has to go, it's just going to finance, that's it.
But it's, well, this one.
no, this one doesn't.
This
go
one
to
does
finance.
not, the next one doesn't finance.
So the confusion was that on the resolution, Jamie had put on there that it was a $20-some thousand effect to the levy, but it's not. We're not asking for levy money. If there is grant funding, and the resolution states that it's funded by the grant. If there's no grant money, there's no position.
You're gonna fall short, there's no benefits and outcomes.
Yeah.
Um,
Is there gonna be enough to do for 2 hours a day? Would be enough there to do for 2 hours a day?
I mean, right now we have 4 participants, so it doesn't take long to watch 4 people pee in the cup, but, and it's
Well,
not every
that's kinda
day.
what, is it a random check thing, or what are we gonna do?
Yeah, they're random. We have some that are checked
Oh, you're talking
daily
about for the,
for the drug court
Sheriff's Department,
participants,
okay.
yeah.
I thought you meant everybody or something.
I'd like to have it for
I would
pretrial
too.
release, people on bond, yeah, but we can't use the TAD grant for that.
I guess that's basically it in a nutshell. There's no financial impact, no money to give back. And it's just setting up if there's grant money left,
There's money available.
and it could be used to fund these.
When would you know if there is money available? Would you know beforehand, that, like, 3-4 months?
So usually around
like I said, it would be for the last quarter. So usually, what's happened in the past, when I've worked with Kitsy, is around August, I would sit down with her and talk to her about, you know, things like, you know, what's the cost of living gonna be for county employees for wages, what are we looking at for how many jail days that we've had, that all goes under the match for the grant. And then we're kind of looking ahead to say, okay, so now we didn't use a lot of treatment money, so we're gonna have some excess money. What are we gonna spend it on? So around August is when we start to look at it, and then it would be something like we wanted to use it to implement the last quarter of last year and see how that would go. So it would be the same thing. I mean, we can't necessarily, I didn't write it into the budget for 2023. So if we do it, it would mean that's the extra money and there's a budget modification then at the end of the year, which we usually do have to do a budget modification at the end of the year. Because the name of the game is it's treatment, it's drug court. We have to have treatment in our budget. So we keep it in there, and we have, you know, if we go 6 months without sending somebody to treatment, then we know at the end of the year, we're gonna have extra money to spend. But we can't spend it on other things throughout the year until we know. But by the third quarter, if we have 4 people in our treatment court, and it costs $2,000 room and board for inpatient treatment for us. So then we know we could send all 4 of them if we had to. That's last quarter, so don't spend the 10,000. But if we have 20,000, we have 10 grand left to spend. That's kind of how we do it, but it's a lot more complicated because we have to look at the match and stuff too.
Further questions?
I think it's worth a try.
I don't argue with it as long as, I mean, there's no financial impact.
Yeah, we'll go,
Right.
it was worth a try.
But if we do pass it, it needs to be set up to go forward.
Right, we wouldn't have it if there's no grant money.
That's every year kind of thing then, or wouldn't have to do this every year, do we?
No, if we had the resolution, it would just say that we can do it.
Continuous.
Yeah, anytime if we had the money, just no levy money.
I make a motion to go with it. Try it out. see what it is.
Motion's made to approve, providing we're letting money or grant money there for it, I assume.
Bradley, yes.
Is there a second?
Yeah. Second it too.
Is there any further questions for that on the set 2 positions? None being heard, all in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Drug court coordinator position on wage scale. This also come in front of us, an extension yesterday. The grant was put in for the drug court coordinator, and it was not put in, the grant was not written with the wage increase in it, it would come from the wage study. So therefore, if implemented and put on this wage scale, there is a possibility that the money would run short out of the grant and it wouldn't land on levy money to finish. If I remember correctly, right around $5,000, is that it, Jamie?
Yes.
Actually, 7,778.
7,000?
$7,778. The one caveat to this is this person did not take benefits, am I correct? So we do not know, it's kind of up in the air, it may not come to a levy impact because they did not take benefits. Somewhere in midstream, if they do take benefits, it could possibly make a levy impact. It's kind of gray here.
Well, it's not accurate to say that she didn't take benefits. She took benefits, she just doesn't take the health insurance.
That all being said, it's an issue trying to keep these positions filled. And I think if we don't start benefiting some of these employees a little bit, it's gonna continue to be an issue, and it's gonna be a revolving door. Well,
It's unique to the, I mean, it's not unique to Rusk County, it's unique for every job court. They all have a lot of turnover, but, except for in the bigger areas. But I think the way that it has to be passed is to say that, I mean, it wasn't included in the grant because we weren't given the amount. And we had to submit the grant and the budget, and the grant was awarded with that budget way prior. I mean, to when the wage study, we didn't know what the wage was gonna be. So, you know, we had a long conversation last night about match and how the grant ran short of match this past year, which it was the only year that we didn't meet the match. And it was $5,000, I checked today. That it would have to be that if the wage study amount is used, the difference between what is in the grant now and what that wage study amount would be covered by the county, and then we could use that for the match, and then we wouldn't have any problem with the match. And then next year, then come next fall, we can put whatever the wage is for
What
the
is
following year.
What is the wage difference, Jamie?
Well, it's 7,700.
No, from what they're getting now to what the wage study put them at?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So right now it's $20.71. I think it was 24 something on the wage for the wage study.
so it'll go up to 24.57. So it'll go from 20.71 up to 24.57. And I mean, they do usually several budget modifications during the year, so that budget for 2023 can be modified. There was one that just went through this week for a 2022 budget modification.
We do them at the end of the year, in the last quarter, because that's when we know we have the extra money.
You're talking just shy of a $4 increase what the wage study puts it at. So right now, I guess it's in our hands whether we pass it on. If we do pass it on, it's gonna have to go to finance because that would have to be finished out with levy money in the budget if the grant money was used up.
I think what you said earlier, you hit the nail on the head, though. The last coordinator was a year and a half. One before that, didn't make it 2 years, and one before that was a year and a half. We gotta do something to keep consistency, especially with, and you know this probably as much or more than anybody, but the people that they're working with, they need consistency too, because when there's all that turmoil, you talk about changeover, and there's been a lot of changeover this last year, it's hard on them, so we need to do something to keep some consistency in that position. And a little more money, it's a high demand job, a high stress job, you know, that kind of stuff. I think we'll go a long ways to help that as well.
I mean, if we do pass it, I mean, it don't mean it's set in stone. It's still gotta go to finance. Finance is gonna have to.
Well, full county board would have to approve this being covered with levy, but I do think that, you know, there can be room made within that budget. I mean, if we're gonna hire 2 LTEs to do drug testing on 4 participants, I mean, we could cut that down to 1 LTE, and there's our, you know, money for that wage increase. We don't need to hire both a male and a female, and Chelsea's willing to do the UAs on those participants that are female. I think we need to take care of our current staff before we hire new ones.
would.
Yeah, and if it came down to that, then that's, I mean, obviously, we're gonna wanna keep our coordinator before we use people who monitor drug testing,
think
but
we
the
need
choice
to-
is the team's.
Benefit our employees that are here now and try and keep some retention. I agree with Jonathan, I think that retention issue is probably highly specific in that area, that where they feel comfortable with each other that they're working with, you're probably gonna have a better success rate. So, like I say, if we do pass it through here, it's still gonna go the finance, and then it's gonna have to go through full board, so.
I'll make a motion to recommend finance approve, pass it along and recommend they approve the wages as per the wage study. For drug court coordinator.
With the possible levy impact.
With, and it, yes, if we have to use levy for 2023, all of the contingency fund. Which, well, we did that with every other wage adjustment too, we pull the contingency fund, so it wouldn't be inconsistent with how we dealt with the pay raises.
You're right, you're right. It's just that it would have to go to full county board because the drug court resolution said that that position would be 100% funded by the grant. And
So
that's
they're
what
going
it
to
would
be
be.
amended.
But that's up to finance to pass it to the full board if they. If
Yeah,
they
I'd have to
pass
look
it
to
on.
see which committee sent that original resolution to the full board, but.
Okay,
It was personnel.
just recommends it.
yeah.
You mean the original resolution for the position?
Yes.
It was personnel.
There is a motion on the floor to approve this position on the wage scale, pass it on to the finance committee. Is there a second?
To approve and recommend.
Or recommend, yes, excuse me. Is there a second?
Yeah, second.
Second by Mr. Stout. Is there any further questions? Comments? None being heard, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion does carry.
Thank you.
Virtual meeting policy. Put this on here, not to talk about what this number should be. But as a committee for us to discuss this and see if we would like to build something for it. And we'll leave it strictly at that, if. I'm not saying we have to, but if we would like to put something for it.
So we're looking for
Ideas?
what he wants to say.
Ideas, I mean, do we, don't we?
I think we should do this. It's the only thing nowadays.
Yes or no?
Yes or no? Yes.
Yes and no, he said. My thought pattern, I guess, there's a whole stack of stuff here that you guys can read, Bob, I think everybody's got it. It's a bunch of stuff from all different counties, how they did it. An opinion, not a motion, that maybe let's try this with county board and see how it works. And at a future date, then address the committee meetings.
Well, in the past, we had a couple of board members that ran on transparency. They said that they wanted everything transparency every year back. It's a chance to.
If we go to all committee meetings, we're gonna have to have somebody,
Temporary.
Well,
that's what you're talking about.
if we go to
Well,
all,
I don't care, it doesn't matter.
if we go to all committee meetings, it's gonna have, there's gonna be a financial impact to it. Because what we've got for IT is not gonna be able to handle setup and operation at X number of meetings for the month. Which we do have them here at the county board meeting as it stands. So it's not gonna be no different than, you know, what we're doing right now.
We know the emergency services, George always had to come in and serve.
Yeah.
We didn't know.
I sure.
Sometimes he got trouble. too.
Yeah, I sure don't know how to set it. I don't have to say do.
I hear you.
And I think we'd be asking each committee chair an awful lot to have to set this stuff up and keep it running.
You can ask, maybe the new chairman right there, Landon Walker.
Wrong answer. No, I'm not afraid to admit, I'm 95% computer illiterate.
I hear you.
So,
105.
Yeah.
Jonathan, you look like you got,
Yeah, but some guys grew up with
We're
it.
already gonna have one on the floor at the next county board meeting. Now we put a policy today, we have two on the floor.
It's different for these guys, they grew up with this stuff.
And I think the comment was made that the one on the floor was a hack. We don't even have one in front of us. That's gonna really be a hack if we come up with one.
well, and that's why I stated, I put it on here to talk about it. I'm not saying we're putting something forth tonight, but I put it on here to talk about it. Is it something we wanna do? Is it something we wanna get legal mixed in, so we got it written right?
Well, yeah, you gotta have it written right for sure.
Right.
Can't leave yourself open.
And I believe the one that was on the floor had legal involvement.
But it also had all committee meetings and everything involved in it too, which is gonna be a financial impact to the county.
Potentially. It wasn't before though.
Or you can listen to all that, what's that point in time?
But it's done in a different, it would be done in a different manner than it was because of the system that we got in place now. When it was done earlier, there was a call in that didn't use this new system that was put in.
Would that be the same kind of thing? How would you do that?
I honestly don't know.
That's what I'm asking.
So it paid for this new system.
This was, through,
Here's
yeah, I think it was, but it was, basically what it was, pandemic money.
Yeah.
It was handed out, it was what paid for this stuff.
So we're gonna take taxpayer money, put a system in for the people and not use it?
That ain't what I said, Jonathan.
But I mean, that we spent the money on the infrastructure, we had the people to do it. I understand what you're saying, but we can't come up with, I mean, we could come up with another policy between now and then, but what are we gonna gain? Because now you got two policies, you pass them both, I mean, how would,
That's gonna be on a debate for the board, Jonathan.
I agree with you, Terry, I think just let the board decide whether or not.
And we surely can.
I think that'd probably be the best bet, because I don't think we're gonna
We're not
solve anything here.
No, we're not, I mean, not without having legal involved in lots of hours, I can guarantee that.
yeah, I agree. So we're like, we're restarting from scratch again, or at least we got, maybe not the best policy there, but at least we got hopefully 75 or 80% of the way to be already there. I'd rather work with that.
Okay,
And if we have, I mean, my opinion, if we have to take time to make amendments and work through it, the county board, I'd rather do that and do it right than to do, I mean, we did that last time, we made 3 amendments, I think, on it. And let's keep working, if we have good solutions, let's do it, if we have things to work through, let's do it.
Place to go, because the corporate council's here, we can answer the questions.
And
No,
maybe,
that's true, too.
and maybe there's a timetable where we wanna implement things that might be worth looking at. But I don't know that, I just don't see the value in having dueling resolutions.
and I'm fine with that, like I said, I just put it in here for some discussion, I'm not looking to reinvent the wheel tonight, that wasn't my thought pattern
I
at
think
all.
we just move it on to the board.
Okay, good enough then.
You guys,
I agree, I think we already went that route.
what we did,
Huh?
we did, but now we're at it again.
Well, and it got shoved aside.
Yeah.
too. So, see what happens after the board meeting then.
the board might, who knows, it might not pass, it might be significantly different than what's on the table now.
True.
True.
Well, in the HHS LTE position,
Okay, so, Jeremy Jacobs' last day was on Friday. We've got Ashley Nelson as our new HHS director. Obviously, that's a gigantic role within the county. So I am hoping that you guys will approve letting Jeremy come back at the rate he was when he left, at a max of, Rich and I were thinking maybe 5 hours a week, to assist Ashley with any questions she might have. Just so we can keep,
Smooth transition.
yes,
Keep up with the pace.
right, exactly.
for what kind of a time frame are
Think about it?
That's up to you guys, if you wanna leave it indefinite in the motion, if you wanna do end of February.
It's end of February now.
I mean,
Sure.
HHS director is a huge position. I don't know, Phil, you got any recommendation?
I would say leave it open-ended, because I think your first year, you wanna go through the whole budget process. I mean, go out seeing the budget that's in there, it's just page after page after page. And leave it open-ended, whatever you wanna do, but that's, if you're asking me, I think it has to at least go through the budget cycle.
What is current pay?
When he left, he was at $39.72 an hour.
So potentially 2,000.
5 hours a week to take it, do it.
That's what we're thinking. I talked to both Ashley and Jeremy. They were okay with that. It's just on a, she might just have a question here or there. Mhm.
So it may be used, it may not be used.
Exactly.
Yeah. It will be used at budget time, I'm sure.
Well,
Yep.
How about we say up to 5 hours a week?
Okay.
What if we did it, though not 5 hours a week, let's say 55 hours for the year, because one day might be a 10-hour, because if you get the budget, you might, or pick a number for the, until the end of the year, and then, but not to exceed, what, 30?
I don't know, if you have 1 week over 30, I mean, I can't imagine you would anyways, but, so you know.
Oh, no, it's if you average.
So,
Yeah.
would you guys be interested in something more like that, so that it's more discretionary when he does rather than per week?
what is that,
And most of this will be recoverable through their grants. It gets allocated a month.
55, would you say 39?
72.
You'll have to add another 15% for fringe on that.
What's that?
You'll have to add another 15% or so for fringe on that.
It's almost like that's, that was the 20, that was about $2,300, so.
That's what that comes up to. That interests you?
For how long?
But it is 55 hours. You take 55 hours times 39.72. It's $2,184.60.
And multiply that by 1.15.
So for $2,500 or less, seems like it's
25.12.
good value to keep
Yeah.
your biggest department with what, 13 sub-departments?
Something
I
happened,
mean,
that's
that's
cheap.
a good deal. for us,
Right.
I think.
Mhm.
I mean, I guess my only glitch, if you wanna get through budget time, if you was discussing 5 hours a week, and you wanna get through budget time, you're talking, well, let's see, 2 to 10, you're talking probably 9 months. You're talking 45 weeks or so in there.
You might want to come in for.
You know, you're talking 225 hours, Jonathan, not 55.
Might want to come in for a little more time, too, at budget time to help it
Yeah.
instead of.
That said, I'm okay with that,
approving up to that amount, I doubt he's gonna want them to work that much extra hours.
Well, I would agree with that, I mean,
Nor will he report all of it.
well, I just, I guess I'm thinking, Jonathan, that maybe it should be 100 hours and not 55. I mean, if he skips a few weeks in there, we get into the budget,
Yeah. Probably make up
then
some
he's
time.
got some time to utilize there.
Yep, I'm okay, I'm fine with that.
And that would be, well, you're talking,
I think 50, I might have did it by month, because that should be more than right.
if you go 100
10
hours
months.
times 39, 72, you're talking $4,000 there, times 1%, you're what, 40, or 15%, you're what, 4650?
So-
No, it would be 49 or something, excuse me. And what is, you say part of that's recoverable?
Yes, I mean, the Health and Human Services Director's wages get allocated out across the FTE counts. And so they would be, his wages would be allocated just as the same Health and Human Services Director, because that's the capacity he'd be coming back to assist at.
The wages be covered for 2 people. Regular director and himself.
Did you catch that?
That it would, whether it would cover for 2 people. Well, the way it gets allocated out, we will have some vacancies as people transition through, so there will be some savings there. So it's hard to predict exactly how all the pieces are gonna fall, but the Health and Human Services Department does a very good job of minimizing the amount of levy that they utilize, and by keeping Judy on to help train will help kind of keep that going.
Yeah, help Ashley kind of learn how he did that.
Good questions?
Should I have a motion for up to 100 hours till December 31st to be used at their discretion?
Yeah, that sounds
If
great.
that's what you want to do,
So
yeah.
I'll make a motion, I imagine you guys send this to finance too?
It might be a good idea to get them to sign off on it, yeah.
Alright, make a motion to approve and send to finance, for 100 hours for Jeremy Jacobs at last page. This is gonna be really short.
I got it.
We might have to wordsmith a little bit. Maybe, till to use at their discretion till December 31st.
Motion's on the floor, is there a second?
Go ahead.
I don't want you to feel left out.
No, it's okay.
Motion's made and seconded to authorize up to 100 hours for, I guess, assistance to the new director. Is there any further questions or comments?
Well, sometimes maybe that ain't enough, like in budget time, you might have to come in more regular.
Well, he probably won't use it during other times of the year though either.
Yeah,
You know,
I guess it comes to that like cross effort.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
if there's no other questions, all in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Ashley, I guess it's up to you again.
Okay, so I'll give the recruitment updates until we fill our HR position. Next week, we are interviewing 3 people for jailer dispatcher position. The sheriff's office extended an offer to someone last week, I think, and that offer was turned down, so we'll do interviews again. Closing on February 12th is our custodial housekeeping, our forester, our highway commissioner, our HR manager, and our IT specialist. We have no applicants yet for highway commissioner, so we might have to kick that out a couple weeks. I'll talk to Tim and Jerry about that. We'll see what we want to do. 1 applicant for our forester that is promising, 6 for custodial housekeeping, 4 for our IT specialist, and 1 applicant for HR manager. Then closing at the end of the month on February 26th, we've got a part-time animal shelter staff, maintenance housekeeping, and our public health officer. We've got 3 applicants for the animal shelter, none so far for maintenance housekeeping, but I just put that out this morning. And then one out-of-country applicant for our public health officer. We just went through this we interviewed someone from out of the country, and we looked into with legal sponsoring a work visa. And it's very expensive and it's very time consuming, and there's not even a guarantee we would get the work visa. So me, Jeremy, Ashley Nelson decided to move on from that candidate with the advice from Von Briesen that this is gonna be quite the process. So we relisted for the public health officer, and the only applicant we have so far is again out of the country. So, right, and Phil knows all about this. I talked with Jeremy this morning about it, and he said he knew this was gonna be a long process. He's not even sure we're ever gonna get a public health officer again in Rusk County, but him and Ashley Nelson have a contingency plan in place, possibly partnering with, I think, St. Croix County.
It was Price.
Was it Price?
One of them anyhow.
Right, to do like an MOU. So we're gonna leave it posted and see what we get, but there's a backup plan because we likely won't get a qualified applicant.
The one for the animal shelter,
Yep.
that's a standing posting.
Yes. Yes. That person gave notice 2 weeks ago, I think. So Terry Wedwick and I had that posted. It's been up for a while now. But yep, that's a standing position.
So some of the ones that we didn't get, like highway commissioner and we would have been on the old wage, but now with the new wage, does that change our posting, like our advertised wage or?
Highway commissioner went out at the new wage, as did Forrester. Custodial housekeeping is still at the old wage, I believe, because I think Ellie posted that one. But we have plenty of applicants for that. Animal shelter went out at the new wage study, as did maintenance housekeeping. And then when I reposted public health officer, that also went out at the new. No. Good, you need a you need to be like an RN or, you need to have the correct education to be a public health officer, so it's just harder in a smaller county to recruit for that.
The one we interviewed was, he had been all kinds of schools, all kinds of schools. But that's not something I take it that's, cost effective through the work visa stuff.
Vicky said it would be anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000. And then after we spent that money, there's no guarantee we would get the visa. And if we did, he would be able to come till, I think, October.
There's no guarantee that it would even go through that.
Nope.
Very much in plan, I come roll.
Right? Yep.
Yeah. Is there any further questions for Ashley?
I'm afraid to ask.
None being heard, I guess a motion to adjourn is in order. So, motion made, is there a second?
I'll second
Favor?
I don't think I've ever been in a regular scheduled personnel meeting that's been over an hour.
Right?
I've ever been in that's been 2 hours.
Well, not if stranger things have happened, I guess. Worse.
She would have worked for us that year.
They put a cortisone shot in, they put a cortisone shot in the AC joint. And it is, it's just getting, oh, believe me, that nurse would have been holding his hand up. That's why. And it hurt. Well, he made it.
But it really works good though. They tell you how long it's gonna last, can't
It didn't do me anything, Bob. It's just, it's getting to the point I ain't even got no power to pull my arm in. It's just getting worse by the days.
Right to the day is a long
I don't know if they're gonna wind up doing surgery on it. Would you rotate your cup button? I know Mom had her rotator cuff done, and, they didn't do nothing with the rotator cuff. He said he cleaned the arthritis out of it. And she's got full movement back, so.
I've got questions for you. One of the things that really gets me when I listen to meetings are things that are said that don't seem to be accurate in how, like, I personally experience them as a public person using virtual access. So what is different right now if we were to use the access than it was? You said it was different, so I'm just curious.
I'm not gonna comment outside of this meeting on a recording, but
It doesn't have to be recorded at all.
I am not gonna comment outside of this.
So where would you
meeting.
like, when can we meet and when can we talk that has nothing to do with recording? Because it doesn't need to be recorded.
I am not gonna talk personally about any of this.
But
It's
you
a-
guys say things that are not true to what is really going on. Like, no IT person ever started these things. It was either Andy or the department head, depending on the availability of somebody to be able to do it. And you said call in today, and like, that isn't, you could call in, but I'm curious, what's different today? Like, and who's going to answer the things that are said in a meeting that, it's one thing to have a belief on something, and it's another thing to say things in meetings that aren't necessarily the accurate truth. And then, you know, the public sits out there and wonders, you guys can't make decisions if somebody's saying things that aren't the accurate truth of what's going on. And then you ask questions and nobody wants to respond. It is so highly frustrating. And if you don't want somebody to be here record these yourselves, have the access yourself. I don't want to be here wasting my time doing it. The reality is I don't see that anything was different 3 months ago or 4 months ago than it was 2 years ago on how we use the system. And saying so in a meeting
We have a meeting at 5.
isn't
Okay.
productive on where we
conference room.
want to go with our county. Right? It's not productive for where we want to go if things get said that aren't how the system actually works. And when I come here angry, it's because nobody wants to deal with what's actually going on.
Again, I am not gonna comment. I am computer illiterate. I am not
You
skilled.
don't need to be computer literate. These meetings were all county committee meetings were run by this system when the building was closed for how long?
Like this.
Clerk never ran them. She wasn't held responsible, saying that the public never called it had to be resolved. The clerk was never responsible, whether it was Andy or a chair or something like that, that's who did it. But the IT was never here. Like, they're here helping you at the board meetings, but they weren't here in the committee meetings. That's all I'm saying is, like, I'm just trying to be factual, and I sat in on committee meetings for almost 2 years on all of them, finance, personnel, the library, all of them. And we didn't need extra money to pay for IT to be there. We weren't expecting, you know, somebody to be there. All I'm trying to get at is, there has to be some actual talking, not just saying something and thinking that's how it is. If the system's different, then tell somebody besides just this committee that it's different. I'm asking you what's different because I used the system for over 2 years. You don't want to tell me now, that's fine. But I'm just saying, I would like somebody to actually talk to people that used it, and these things are said, whether it's this one or the finance or the full board. I sit out there in the audience and I'm like, but that's not the reality of what happened. And you guys can be worried about being sued. You can be worried about X, Y, Z, but when you say things that are not that way, it's a knife in the back that it's never gonna work. It's never gonna go forward because everybody's too old to run the system. When the system was run for how long when this building was closed and the public was never allowed to set foot here?
and every committee was broadcast.
I can tell you one thing that I don't like. I don't like it when it's wrote in the paper, in that last sentence that's in there, that you don't vote the way we want, we're gonna